Picture this, a grand opening, a crowd outside, phones up, smiles, people celebrating a brand built to honor a legend. And then, gunfire. You hear it, and the entire scene changes in a half second. People sprint, some freeze, some drop low. A wave of panic spreads like it's got a mind of its own. And in the middle of it, there's Blacc Sam, Nipsey's brother, caught on camera doing the only thing your body knows how to do in that moment. Get small and survive. He's crouched behind a white sedan, alone, not posing, not talking, not performing, just trying to stay out the way while police rush in. And if you already know what happened to Nipsey years ago, then you know why this moment lands like a punch. Because it wasn't supposed to look like this again. So the question becomes, what exactly happened out there? And was it really not connected like some people are claiming? Stay with me, because the timeline makes it even crazier. Here's what makes this hit harder, the timing. This wasn't just any random Sunday. This was the same weekend the city was honoring Nipsey in a big way. Fans gathered, speeches, emotion in the air. At the intersection where Nipsey used to move around, where the marathon story became real, the city officially added a new name, Nipsey Hustle Square. Lauren London spoke through tears and told the crowd something that stuck. Nipsey used to ride through there and say one day they'd name that section after him. And now, it happened. Blacc Sam spoke too. He said Nipsey's spirit is still in that area, still in that mission, still in that work. So imagine the emotional high of Saturday, and then the emotional whiplash of Sunday, when celebration turns into scrambling for cover. And that's why people are asking what they're asking, because when it happens during Nipsey weekend, it doesn't feel random, even if it is. But next, you have to understand why Marathon Burger isn't just a restaurant. Marathon Burger isn't just a new spot with a line outside. It's part of a bigger idea, one Nipsey talked about for years. A brand that moves like a system: music, clothing, community, ownership, and businesses that plant roots. Blacc Sam has said Nipsey was always thinking ahead, always talking about expanding the Marathon name into more lanes, more products, more footprints, more ways to build something that lasts. So when Marathon Burger opens new locations, it's not just another store. To a lot of fans, it feels like another brick in the legacy. That's why the Long Beach opening had so much attention, why so many people showed up, why the weekend felt like momentum. And then, right when it's supposed to be a victory lap, everything collapses into chaos. And the first question everyone asks is the simplest one. Where did the gunfire come from? Right there, or somewhere nearby? Because that detail changes everything. Here's what the timeline looks like based on what people on the scene described. Sunday afternoon, downtown Long Beach, a busy corridor. People lined up, some say 50 to 60 deep, waiting for the opening, waiting for their moment. Then, out of nowhere, the crowd reacts like somebody flipped a switch. One witness described it as pure chaos for about 10 to 15 seconds, ducking behind anything that could block danger. Another said they only heard a single shot, but it was enough to make everybody lock in instantly. And that's the first contradiction that makes this story messy, because police responded to reports of a shooting involving multiple victims. Firefighters rushed in, paramedics worked fast. So if some people only heard one pop, how do you end up with multiple victims? That's why it matters where it started. If it was down the block, sound travels weird. If it was right there, that's even darker. And before anybody could even fully process what just happened, the next piece hits. 3 men were taken to the hospital, and one of them doesn't make it. Emergency crews arrived and rushed 3 adult men in their 20s to the hospital. One of them was described as being in critical condition, so bad that life-saving measures had to be done right there at the scene before he was moved. Later, officials confirmed the person lost his life. Let that sink in. A weekend meant to honor a man who preached ownership, growth, and community. And now another family is receiving the worst news possible. And this is where the crowd energy shifts from panic to confusion. Because now everybody's asking, was this a targeted situation? A random conflict? Something that spilled into the opening? Something that had nothing to do with it? And then, in the aftermath footage, something else shows up that makes people's imaginations go crazy. Handcuffs. 2 people were seen restrained while officers loaded them into separate patrol vehicles. So who were they? After the noise comes the flood of footage. You see police trying to set up a perimeter. You see crowds of people still outside, still staring, still trying to understand what just happened. You see firefighters moving fast, one victim being loaded onto a gurney in a nearby area and taken into an ambulance. And then you see it, at least 2 people restrained, 1 man and 1 woman placed into separate patrol vehicles. Now, before anyone runs with the wildest version of the story, let's say this clearly. Detained does not automatically mean guilty. In chaotic scenes, police detain people for a lot of reasons. Witness control, safety, separating stories, sorting out who was involved and who wasn't. But on the internet, nuance doesn't trend. A video of handcuffs trends. And when a Nipsey-connected event is in the headline, every image becomes proof of somebody's theory. So now, the open loop gets louder. Were those 2 people suspects? Or were they just the nearest faces when officers needed answers? And that brings us back to the image everyone can't stop replaying. Blacc Sam behind the car. In the footage, Blacc Sam isn't surrounded by security. He's not in a protected bubble. He's crouched behind a white sedan, alone, staying low while people scatter and police arrive. And if you pause for half a second and actually think about what that means emotionally, this isn't just another person ducking. This is a man who lived through the most public nightmare in his family's history, now forced into the same body language again. That's why people watching feel sick to their stomach, because you can almost hear the thought that doesn't need words. Not again. And that's what makes the next part impossible to ignore. To understand this reaction, you have to go back to the moment that changed everything. Years ago, Nipsey Hussle was attacked outside his store near the Marathon location in South LA, and he later passed away from that incident. That moment wasn't just tragedy, it was trauma stamped into the community, into the brand, into the family. And Blacc Sam didn't get the luxury of grieving quietly. He became a public face of the legacy. He stepped forward. He helped keep the Marathon name alive. He became the guy trying to protect the vision while carrying pain the world only gets to read about. So when gunfire erupts again at a Marathon branded opening, the public sees a headline, but Blacc Sam feels a flashback. That's why the footage isn't just news. It's emotional, it's symbolic, it's triggering, and it sets up the most dangerous part of this whole story. When emotion takes over, people start connecting dots that may not be connected, which leads to the 2 competing narratives that are now battling online. The Long Beach opening wasn't low-key. Local officials were involved in the ribbon cutting. The crowd was heavy, and yes, big names were in the building earlier. Reports say Snoop Dogg and YG attended the opening, but also that they left long before the incident happened. That detail matters because it splits the story into 2 totally different directions. Direction 1, this was connected to the event. Direction 2, this happened nearby, and the event just got caught in the wave. And depending on which version you believe, your entire interpretation changes. If it was connected, that's terrifying for the brand. If it wasn't connected, it's still terrifying because it shows how quickly the environment can shift even during a celebration. Either way, the truth is this. A crowd heard gunfire, a crowd ran, people got hurt. 1 person lost his life. Now let's talk about the statement that poured gas on the debate. After the incident, the business put out a message saying, The situation being reported was not connected to their event, saying it wasn't even within their block party, and that the opening continued. They emphasized the opening was a success. The community showed love, and the restaurant remained open with customers still coming in. Now that statement does two things at once. It reassures supporters, and it irritates skeptics, because people watching the footage are thinking, if it wasn't connected, why did it look like it was? The crowd doesn't run like that unless they believe danger is close. Sound carries, sure, but panic doesn't travel without a reason. So now the argument online becomes, was this down the street and the crowd reacted? Or was it close enough that not connected feels like wordplay? And here's where we have to be responsible. We do not know the motive yet, but that hasn't stopped the internet from building its own storyline. This is the part where the internet starts doing what it always does. People turn a fast-moving incident into a full movie script. Some are saying it had to be tied to the crowd. Others are saying downtown Long Beach is busy. Anything can pop off anywhere. Others are pointing at the timing. Nipsey weekend, marathon brand, of course people will connect it. And then you get the most dangerous part, unverified posts. People claiming they heard what started it. People claiming they know who it involved. People posting blurry screenshots and treating them like evidence. So let me be clear, until officials confirm motive and circumstances, everything beyond the basics is speculation. But since rumors are driving attention, we'll address them carefully, without turning them into facts. Because the real story isn't just what happened. It's how quickly meaning gets assigned to it. Here are the main unverified theories floating around. Again, not confirmed. Some claim it started as a conflict down the block and spilled toward the crowd. Some claim it was targeted toward specific individuals, not the business. Some claim it had nothing to do with the opening, and the timing is just cruel coincidence. Some claim the detentions mean they caught somebody, even though detentions can mean many things. Notice what all these theories have in common. They're filling a vacuum, because right now, the official public info is limited. And when info is limited, imagination runs wild. But here's the part people miss. When a brand is connected to a legend like Nipsey, every headline becomes bigger than itself. A fight becomes a statement. A random incident becomes a pattern. A bad day becomes history repeating. And whether it's true or not, that perception has consequences. So what does the community do with this moment? That question gets answered by the voices who were actually there. In the middle of all the panic, one witness said something that deserves attention. They basically said, "Don't let this moment discredit the good that happened today." That's a powerful line because it's the exact battle the community always faces. One chaotic incident can erase months of positive work in the public mind. And Nipsey's message was always bigger than headlines. He talked about reducing violence, uplifting the neighborhood, inspiring people who were counted out. At the dedication, his mother encouraged people to respond to setbacks and hate with love. So seeing this happen right after a celebration, it feels like a test. Not a test of who's right online, a test of what happens next. Do people pull back? Do they tighten up security? Do they stop showing up? Or do they show up even harder, but smarter? Because if the marathon mission is going to grow, this can't keep being the soundtrack, which leads to the next open loop. What changes the next time they open a location? Let's talk reality. When you have a big crowd, a hype opening, famous names earlier, a busy downtown corridor, the environment is volatile, even if everyone showed up with good intentions. Crowds compress, tempers flare, misunderstandings happen, and one sound, just one, can create a stampede. Now, none of that means the business caused anything, but it does mean every major event needs a plan for the moment things go sideways. Because in the footage, people are running with no clear direction. Some are diving behind cars, others are stuck in the open. And what everyone wants to know now is simple. Were cameras rolling from multiple angles? Were there clear perimeters? How far from the opening did it actually happen? Because the next chapter of this story won't be decided by vibes. It'll be decided by evidence, video, witness statements, and confirmed timelines. And once investigators lock that down, the narrative could flip overnight. In situations like this, investigators typically try to answer a few core questions fast. Where exactly did it start? Not near, not around. The exact point. Was it targeted or random? That changes how they interpret everything. Who was present? Who was involved? Who was at risk? Who are the witnesses that matter most? Not the loudest voices online, the people with a clear view. What does video show before the panic? Because the before tells you more than the after. And then there's the biggest question of all. Who was detained and why? Were they being questioned, separated for safety, or connected to what sparked the incident? Until that gets clarified, the internet will keep inventing the answer. But the brand is still moving forward in real time, and that's where the story gets complicated. The business has made it clear. The restaurant remained open. The opening continued. People were still flowing in and out. And to supporters, that's a statement. It says, we're not letting chaos stop the mission. But at the same time, there's a truth nobody wants to say out loud. Every time something like this happens near a Nipsey-connected moment, it adds pressure. Pressure on the family. Pressure on the community. Pressure on the brand to protect people, not just represent hope. And Blacc Sam is at the center of that pressure. He's not just Nipsey's brother. He's the guy tasked with turning a vision into real-world businesses where real people show up. So the question becomes, can the Marathon brand expand without becoming a magnet for unpredictable moments? Because fans want to celebrate, but fans also want to feel safe celebrating. And right now, that's not guaranteed. The irony is heavy. One day, the city publicly honors Nipsey at the exact intersection tied to his story. Speeches about inspiration, love, and legacy. The next day, chaos erupts outside a business that's supposed to represent growth, ownership, and community pride. And then the footage give the world one of the most haunting images possible. Blacc Sam, crouched behind a car, trying to survive. That image becomes a symbol, whether he wants it to or not. Some people will use it to say, nothing changes. Others will use it to say, this is why the work matters. Others will use it to push fear. But the truth is, the story isn't finished yet, because the motive and circumstances are still being investigated. So before anybody turns this into a conspiracy or a slogan, we wait for the facts. And we ask the question that actually matters. What happens next? Once officials confirm what this really was. So here's what we know. A grand opening in Long Beach drew a crowd. Gunfire erupted nearby. People ran. People took cover. 3 men were taken to the hospital. 1 man lost his life. Police detained at least 2 people in the aftermath. And video captured Blacc Sam ducking behind a car. An image that hit the community like a flashback. And here's what we don't know yet. What sparked it, whether it was truly unrelated to the opening, who the detentions involved, and what the video shows right before the panic started. So I'll leave you with this. Do you believe this was truly not connected? Or do you think the truth is closer than the statement makes it sound? Drop your take, but keep it respectful. And if you want the next chapter when it drops, subscribe.